Let's go through the steps to create a simple custom keyword for OpenTest. This tutorial assumes that you have some basic Java skills, and also make sure to have OpenTest installed. You can check that you have it installed by typing OpenTest-V, and you should get the version number. If not, go to the OpenTest project's website and follow the instructions to install it, then come back here. So the first thing we will do is we will create a directory here called OpenTest extension. Of course, you can call it whatever you like. And then we will copy this path, and we'll open a command prompt, and we'll change directory into that path. Now let's open a browser and let's type OpenTest. Let's go into the GitHub repo for OpenTest. What we need here is the URL of the Git repo. So we copy the URL and we clone it into this OpenTest extension directory. To do that, we'll do a git clone and we'll paste the repo URL, and we do enter. Now the OpenTest project is cloned in here. The other thing that we will need is the sample project for OpenTest extensions that you can find into the MCD Corp organization. This is the project OpenTest extension sample. We'll also clone this project in the same location. So let's copy the git URL from here, and let's also do a git clone to clone this project into the same location. So this is how the directory looks now. Good, so now let's open Eclipse and let's add those projects into Eclipse. So if you go into the OpenTest project, the Java projects are located into the actor directory. So we'll copy this path, then we'll go into Eclipse. We'll do file, open projects from the file system. We'll put the path in here, and then we will deselect this first one. This is the root directory where all the projects are. We'll just leave these 4 projects selected, and we do finish. Now Eclipse starts importing everything, and it does some work in the background. While that's going on, let's also add the OpenTest extension project, OpenTest extension sample. We'll copy this directory. We also do a file, open projects from file system. We paste the path in here and do a finish. Next, let's start building these projects. So the order of building the projects is as follows. The first one you need to build is the base project, because this is a dependency for pretty much all the other projects in here. So let's do that. Let's right click, run as, Maven install. Next, you want to build the Appium and the Selenium extensions. By the way, those 2 projects are just regular OpenTest extensions, just like the one that we are building here. There's nothing special about them. They depend on the base project, so now we should be able to build them. So we do a run as Maven install for Appium, and also run as Maven install for Selenium. Once those 2 projects are finished building, let's also build the actor project. The actor project doesn't contain any code. It only contains dependencies to the base project and to the Appium and the Selenium extensions, and it also contains the configuration file that the test actor is going to use when you run it from the IDE, but we'll come back to this a little bit later. So for now, let's do a run as Maven install for the actor project to make sure that it builds correctly. The actor project built correctly, so everything's good. We are now ready to build the OpenTest extension sample project. So let's do that. Run as Maven install. So the OpenTest extension sample project built successfully. So if we now go into the OpenTest extension sample project into the target directory, this is the jar file that contains a couple of sample test actions that are provided with this project. And basically at this point we are ready to use this extension with the OpenTest actor to run those custom test actions. Of course, if you have some complex test actions, you will need to do some debugging, right? You will need to be able to open one of those test actions. You might want to add a breakpoint in here and examine the values of the variables and whatnot, like you do with Java development. So to do that, we will need to run our test actor from the IDE. And in order to run it from the IDE, we will need to make sure that the configuration file is properly created. So first of all, let's go to the resources of this actor project, and we have in here an actor.sample.yaml file. We will need to copy this file and paste it in the same path under the name actor.yaml. Alright, so now this is going to be the configuration file for our actor when we run it from this actor project. Of course, to run any test with OpenTest, we need a server first of all. So let's do this. Let's go into the on the C drive again. Let's create an OpenTest folder. And in here we will create the working directories for the server and the actor. And the simplest way to do that is to copy this path, go to command prompt, change directory into that path, and say OpenTest quick start. Now those directories are created, so I have the working directory for the actor, for the server, and also a sample test repository. So let's start the server first of all. So we go into the server directory, we copy the path, let's go back in here and start the OpenTest server by typing OpenTest server and paste that working directory. Now the OpenTest server is running, so we can open a browser and type localhost 3000. The next thing we need is to run the test actor. Actually, before we do that, let's write a simple test that will make use of this custom keyword that we have in here. So we have a greet user keyword that is located in the OpenTest.extension.sample package. So let's write a simple test. So let's go into the test repo directory that was created for us. We copy it, we open VS Code, let's open a folder and we'll open this test repo folder. Okay, so we have some sample tests in here. Let's take one of them, this one for example, and let's copy it into the tests directory. Let's rename it to custom actions.yaml. We can change the description in here, run my custom actions. The actor type is actor1, we'll leave it like that. And then for the test actions that we want to execute, first we want to run the test action to greet the user, so let's add the description for the test action, and then let's add the fully qualified name of the class. So let's go back to Eclipse. Let's copy the package name first, then we put a dot, and let's copy the class name. So this is the action that I want to execute. Now what arguments does this action take? So let's go back to Eclipse. This action only takes a string argument called username. So let's copy it and let's put it in the args section, and let's give John Doe as the value for our username. We save the test and we are now ready to run it. So if I go to OpenTest user interface, I can click the plus sign to create a new test session. I can select this custom actions test, and then let's also use the same name for our test session. We say create session. So now our session is waiting for the test actors to become available. As you saw in our test here, the only test actor that we need is called actor1, and we will run this test actor from the Eclipse IDE because we want to be able to do the debugging thing that I was telling you about. So we go to the actor project in the configuration file that we created earlier, and we replace the actor type with actor1 because this is the actor type that we need to run that test. We save, and we are still not ready, but let's run this test actor and see what happens. We'll need to create a debug configuration for this project. So let's go to debug configurations. We'll select Java application and we'll click the plus button. Let's call this debug configuration actor debug. The project is actor, that's okay. And the main class that we want to use is called org.getOpenTest.main. In case you're wondering, this main class doesn't exist in the actor project, it exists in the base project. And this is why we have to specify it in here like this. So let's click debug. Our test actor started, and it will start executing the test session very soon. However, we got some errors here, and if you look in here, you'll see that the error is that it failed to find the test actions greet user. And of course it failed. Of course it cannot find that class because we didn't tell it where that class is. So we can correct that by right-clicking the actor project and going to properties, and in the Java build path section we go to projects and we say add, and we reference the OpenTest extension sample project. Now we say apply and close, and let's try again. So let's stop this and we'll start the debug again. Our test actor is running now. So we'll go to the web UI and we'll duplicate this test session. And this time, if we go into Eclipse, we should be able to see the yeah, so we can see now that the execution stopped on this line where I put the breakpoint. I can examine the value of the username variable. I can see its value is John Doe, since this is what we passed from our test in here. Everything is good. Let's remove the breakpoint and let's resume. So now the test session executed successfully. I can click on it, and if I go into the log file, I should see that the greet user executed with this argument, and the result of executing this action was that something was put into the log file. As you maybe can remember, this test action doesn't do much. It only logs an informational notification with the text, hello username, welcome to OpenTest. So that's how you build a custom test action. So let's stop this project, and in case you want to add a new test action, all you have to do is create a new class like this. The name of the class, let's create a test action that adds two numbers. So the class will be called add numbers. We don't need a superclass for now. Let's say finish. So my test action class will need to inherit from the test action class that is found in the base project in here. So test action, we'll need to import the test action class, and to specify the work that this test action will perform, we need to override the run method in test action. So let's override the run method, and now in here I get to tell this test action what work to do. Since this test action will add some numbers, let's take those numbers from the test action's arguments. So let's create a variable called number1 of type integer, and let's read its value from the arguments by using the syntax this dot read integer argument, and the name of this argument will be number1. Let's read another argument called number2, and let's store that in a variable called number2. Okay, have some spelling mistake here. So now that we have the two numbers, we can add them together, and we'll store the result in an output variable. The way you output values from a test action is by using the write output API. We have to specify the name of the output value, and the name of the output value will be sum, let's say, and then you have to specify the value of the output value, and now which in our case will be number1 plus number2. That's it. So we save this test action. So now let's use this test action in our test. We'll copy this segment in here, put the description, add two numbers. The name of the test action is add numbers, and it's in the same package, so we will not need to change anything in the package name. And the arguments are called number1, and let's give it the value 2. The second action, the second argument is number2, and let's give it the value 3. Let's save, and now we can run a test session again. So we'll duplicate the last test session. We'll say create session and wait. we don't have the actor available. We need to run the actor, of course. Click the actor. We'll use this debug configuration that we created earlier. The actor started running. If I go to the web UI, I should see the actor appearing in here. The actor arrived, the test session started, and it executed successfully. So now if we click on the test session and we go to the log file, we can see that the greet user action was executed with this arguments, and we got the text outputted into the log file. Then the add numbers action executed with these arguments 2 and 3, and then I can see that the output values, basically the only output value was sum with the value of 5, which is what we expected. And that's how you can create custom keywords to leverage in your test suite with OpenTest. In order to share the test actions that you created so that your other teammates can use them in their own tests, what you have to do is you have to build the OpenTest extension project. So let's do run as Maven install. Once the project is built, you can get the jar file from the target directory and share it with your colleagues. What they will have to do in order to use it is to take this file and put it in their test actor working directory. So if we go into this actor1 directory that was created for us, we would have to create a user jars directory and then place this jar in the user jars directory. So now if we start a test actor from here, this test actor will be aware of those custom test actions. So let's do that. So I'll copy this working directory and I'll open a new command prompt and type OpenTest actor and then the working directory. Alright, as you can see, the test actor now knows about this extension that we just created, and I can start a new test session. So this is the test actor that we just started. I can create a new test session by duplicating an existing one. The test session passed. Let's check that everything went okay. Yes, and this is how your teammates can leverage the custom test actions that you just created.